The day my grandfather's will was read felt unreal, like I was walking through someone else's life instead of my own. I sat quietly in the lawyer's office, staring at the polished wooden table while memories kept pushing into my mind. 8 years earlier, my parents had thrown me out of our house the night I turned 18. My mother said I was too stubborn. My father said I was a burden. I still remember the cold pavement under my shoes as the door slammed behind me. The only person who called me the next morning was my grandfather. He didn't ask questions. He simply told me to come live with him. For the next 8 years, he became my entire world. He helped me finish college, gave me a small job at one of his rental properties, and always said the same thing whenever I tried to thank him. "Family takes care of family," he would say. 3 months ago, he passed away quietly in his sleep. Now I sat in the attorney's office waiting for his will to be read. I honestly expected nothing. Maybe a small savings account or a keepsake. Then the door opened. My parents walked in. I hadn't seen them since the night they kicked me out. Yet they smiled at me like nothing had ever happened. My mother even hugged me. "Sweetheart," she said warmly, "we heard about your grandfather. We're so sorry." My father pulled out a chair and sat beside me like we were a normal family again. "Don't worry," he said calmly. "Whatever he left you, we'll handle everything for you." Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. The lawyer cleared his throat and opened the document. "My client," he began, "has left his entire estate to his granddaughter." He looked directly at me. "Total estimated value, $3,800,000. My parents' smiles grew wider. Then the lawyer turned the page. "And there is one condition." My parents leaned forward. And that was the moment their smiles began to fade. The room suddenly felt smaller as the attorney adjusted his glasses and continued reading. I watched my parents carefully. Their excitement was obvious now. My father's fingers tapped the table impatiently, while my mother kept glancing at me with a smile that looked strangely rehearsed. "My client," the attorney said slowly, "placed a specific condition on the inheritance." My father leaned back confidently. "Of course. That's normal." The lawyer nodded. "The estate, valued at $3,800,000, will belong entirely to his granddaughter, but only if she personally manages it." My mother frowned slightly. "What does that mean?" The attorney read directly from the document. "She must live in the main estate house for a minimum of 2 years and personally oversee all financial decisions. No parent, guardian, or relative who previously abandoned her may have any legal authority, control, or financial access to the estate." Silence filled the room. My father's tapping stopped instantly. My mother's smile disappeared. The attorney continued. "If anyone attempts to pressure, manipulate, or control her financial decisions, the estate will automatically be transferred to a charity foundation established by my client." I felt my heartbeat speed up. My parents looked at each other quickly, as if silently arguing. Then my father forced a small laugh. "Well, that's just legal wording," he said casually. "Obviously we'll still help you manage everything." But the attorney wasn't finished. "There is another note written personally by your grandfather." He unfolded a small piece of paper. "I know exactly who will show up when money is involved," the message read. "This condition exists to protect my granddaughter from the same people who abandoned her." My parents' faces turned pale. And for the first time since they walked into the room, neither of them looked at me. The silence after my grandfather's note felt heavier than anything the lawyer had read before. I sat still, trying to process his words. Even after he was gone, he had somehow protected me. My father cleared his throat and leaned forward again, forcing a calm tone. "This is ridiculous," he said. "Your grandfather clearly misunderstood things." I looked at him for the first time since they arrived. 8 years had passed, but the memory of that night, standing outside with my suitcase while the door closed, was still painfully clear. The attorney calmly folded the note. The instructions are legally binding. My mother suddenly reached for my hand. Sweetheart, listen. Families argue sometimes. That doesn't mean we abandoned you. Her voice sounded soft, but something about it felt calculated. You were young, she continued. We were just trying to teach you responsibility. I slowly pulled my hand back. Responsibility. That word echoed in my head. For 8 years I had worked 2 jobs while studying. For 8 years I had learned to survive without them. And the only reason I survived was my grandfather. My father suddenly spoke again, more firmly this time. Managing a $3 million estate isn't easy, he said. You'll need experienced help. The lawyer raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. My father continued, we're your parents. Of course we should guide you. But then the attorney opened another document. There is one more instruction from your grandfather, he said. My parents stiffened. If the granddaughter wishes, she may request a full financial investigation into any family member who attempts to gain control of the estate. My father's confident expression cracked. Because suddenly, the conversation wasn't about helping me anymore. It was about what my grandfather might already have known. And judging by the fear appearing in my parents' eyes, there was something they desperately didn't want discovered. The attorney's words hung in the air, and for the first time since my parents walked into the room, my father looked nervous. What investigation? He asked quickly. The lawyer calmly opened a thin folder. Before his passing, your grandfather requested a private review of several financial matters involving family members. My stomach tightened. My father tried to laugh again, but it sounded forced. That's unnecessary. We're here to support our daughter. The attorney slid a document across the table toward me. Your grandfather believed you deserved to know the truth about something that happened 8 years ago. My fingers trembled slightly as I looked down at the page. It was a bank statement. Several transactions were highlighted in red. Large withdrawals. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And next to the account holder's name was my grandfather's signature. But the withdrawal authorization had been signed by someone else. My father. My heart began to pound. What is this? The attorney spoke carefully. 8 years ago, shortly before you were forced to leave your parents' house, a large amount of money was taken from your grandfather's investment account. I looked up slowly. My father's face had completely lost its color. He believed, the attorney continued, that the conflict which led to you being thrown out may have been connected to that financial situation. My mother suddenly stood up. That's ridiculous. But the attorney remained calm. Your grandfather suspected that after the money was taken, someone needed a reason to blame you, and remove you from the family. The room went completely silent. I slowly looked back at my father. For 8 years I had believed they threw me out because I disappointed them. But now a terrifying possibility formed in my mind. What if they hadn't thrown me out because I was a burden? What if they threw me out because they needed someone to blame? My hands felt cold as I stared at the bank statement in front of me. The numbers were real. The signatures were real. And the date at the top of the page was from the same week my parents threw me out of the house. I slowly looked at my father. You took money from Grandpa? My father's jaw tightened. That's not what this is. The attorney calmly turned another page. The total withdrawn amount was $600,000. My mother immediately stepped in. It was a loan. Your grandfather said we could take it. The lawyer shook his head slightly. There is no written record of a loan agreement. My father leaned forward, his voice sharper now. You're twisting things. But I could feel something inside me shifting. Memories I never questioned before suddenly felt different. That night 8 years ago, my father had been furious. He accused me of stealing family money. I kept insisting I didn't know what he was talking about, but he wouldn't listen. He didn't even check. He simply told me to leave. Now I understood why. If I had stayed, questions might have been asked. My grandfather must have started investigating soon after I moved in with him. That explained why he slowly took control of all his accounts again over the following years. The attorney then spoke quietly. Your grandfather never publicly accused anyone. But he did change his will immediately after discovering the withdrawals. My parents looked completely shaken now. My father suddenly stood up. This conversation is over. But the attorney looked directly at me. You have the legal right to request a full financial investigation. If fraud is proven, the missing money can be recovered. My father froze. Because for the first time, the person holding the power in that room was me. The room felt completely still as everyone looked at me. 8 years ago, I had been the powerless girl standing on the sidewalk with a suitcase. Now I was sitting at a polished table, holding the truth that my grandfather had quietly prepared for me. My father slowly sat back down. His voice was lower now. Listen, we can explain this. But I noticed something important. He didn't say it wasn't true. My mother tried again, softer this time. Sweetheart, families make mistakes. We can solve this together. Together. That word sounded strange coming from them. I thought about the nights my grandfather and I spent fixing things around his house. The way he trusted me to help manage his rental properties. The way he always told me that real family proves itself through actions, not words. The attorney finally asked the question that mattered. Would you like to proceed with the investigation? My parents looked at me with silent panic. For a moment, I imagined the court battles, the news, the years of fighting. Then I remembered something else my grandfather once told me. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply living well without the people who hurt you. I placed the documents back on the table. I don't want the investigation, I said calmly. My parents looked relieved for a split second. Then I finished speaking. But I also don't want any contact with you again. Their relief disappeared instantly. The estate stays under my control, I continued. Exactly how Grandpa planned it. The attorney nodded. Everything was legally protected. My parents slowly stood up, realizing there was nothing left for them to gain. As they walked out of the office, neither of them looked back. I stayed seated for a moment longer, staring at the window. 8 years ago, I lost my family. But my grandfather had spent those same 8 years making sure I would never lose my future. And thanks to him, I finally understood something. The people who threw me away were never the ones who truly mattered.